Alrighty.
Oh, here.
How you doing?
How you doing?
What is Gucci, the good people of YouTube? Hopefully you're having a fantastic start of your week.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Wednesday for us, and it's a Tuesday for you. So hopefully your week is off to a good start. And hey, Formula One is back this weekend.
Race week. I mean,
Combine is happening throughout the whole week. We're hearing
CDL?
so many reports about different players.
I mean,
going on.
It looks like no one's throwing besides Bo Nix and JJ. But shout out to them because they can significantly rise their stock.
Penix too, right? I thought Penix was.
I think Penix. I mean, I was hoping to see one of the top three guys.
It didn't really surprise me, I'll say, just because they are already kind of locked in as top 5 picks. What really could they do to help themselves? But I guess you could say the same about Stroud last year. I'm definitely disappointed that Drake isn't throwing. That's for sure. But
yeah, like I said, I thought one of the top 3 was at least going to throw.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Do us a favor, guys. Go ahead and hit that like button. Simple way for you to help this channel grow and to support the show. We are going to be reviewing some people's Dynasty teams today. We'll get through as many as we can. And we will only be reviewing teams from people who are supporting us. That's how simple it is. We'll talk about that in a second. We see you in the chat, though. What's up, Chester Boats? Chase is here. What's up, Maddie Lowe?
How are you feeling?
Your trial's about to end, Maddie. I think the next time we go live and do these team reviews, you will be the first person up. What's up, Joey? Says, yo, hyped to get my team review tonight. I think it has unlimited routes forward. You'd love to see that. What's up, WG? He said, congrats on the newborn.
Appreciate you.
We see you, Manuel. We see you. Probably aren't able to do a Q&A right now at this point. What's up, Styles? Welcome in. Jordan, Mystic. Jordan says, first couple weeks of being a parent is the best, man. I'm for real so stoked for you, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. It's been amazing so far, guys. Appreciate all the love.
Yeah. All right. Do us a favor. Hit the like button. But let's say why we're here today. We are here to review your Dynasty teams. And when I say your Dynasty teams, I'm specifically referring to the people who are supporting us on the Flock Fantasy website. So you're going to see a lot of team reviews today, and you're going to ask yourself, wait, how can I actually get a part of these team reviews? Well, it's very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. Have to be using the promo code LAND in order to get our perks. If you don't, then I'm sorry. There's no other way to get your team reviewed by us. But if you want your team reviewed, again, become a Mother Flocker member. Use the promo code LAND. And that is really the only formula that you need to know. But the first team that we are looking at today is Chase's team. Cidrad, which is his name is Chase. We know Chase. Chase is a longtime supporter. Chase is an OG.
Triple OG.
Chase is Patreon days, man. You know, we got some Patreon days people. You know, they're rocking up and still showing love, which is awesome.
That's huge. We appreciate you, brother.
All right, Chase. Let's have a look at the squad. 12-team SuperFlex tight end premium, regular PPR, but it's 1.5 for tight ends. The team name is the Unsullied. Start 10, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 3 flex, a tight end. He said it was SuperFlex though, right? So 1, 2, 3,
yeah,
6,
SuperFlex.
9, 10. So is it not SuperFlex then, Chase? Let us know. He says, first ever Dynasty League I ever did, and it shows. Just looking for an in general breakdown and a direction to go. Feels weird having 2 stud running backs, but they are so young, so potentially they'll fit in my win now window. If I can get the right value, feels like I should just trade running backs for wide receivers or draft picks. I'm set at quarterback, but struggling at all other positions. Really need to get some core wide receivers. I'm not sure the best way to go about doing that. Seems like it makes sense to get the running backs off my team so they aren't scoring me points. Draft order goes by max points for, so potential points. That makes sense. Secured some good draft capital for 2025. Kind of rambling here, but I'm sure you guys can give some good insight. Thank you in advance. Hey, no rambling. He says, correction, it's full PPR tight end premium. The tight end gets 2 points per reception. So this is a full point per reception extra. So
okay, well that's huge.
Is it actually start 11 then, Chase? Because he says, sorry, one of those flex should be SuperFlex. Okay, so it is start 10, but one of those is a SuperFlex instead of a regular.
So three
flex.
wide receivers. No, three
wide receivers, 2 flex, 1 SuperFlex.
2 flex, 1 SuperFlex. Okay.
And
perfect.
By the way, a full point per reception is kind of crazy.
I mean, that really just solidifies the type of tight end you probably should be trying to get here.
Can we do some quick math here for a second, though? Because think about this. Last year, Sam Laporta was the tight end 1. And he averaged 14.1 points per game. He had 239.3 points last year. You're essentially doubling that. Meaning Sam Laporta had 478 points.
Well, that's more than
guys,
wide receiver 1.
478 points is 87 more points than Christian McCaffrey last year.
That is out there. So
let me do another quick math here for the people to understand. I just want to exaggerate this, okay? 478 points. That means Sam Laporta scored 75 more points than CeeDee Lamb in PPR. And if you look at quarterbacks, Josh Allen was the highest scoring fantasy asset everywhere last year. He scored 410 points.
He would have been the highest scoring highest scoring player.
Sam Laporta scored 67 more points than Josh Allen last year.
You love to see it.
That is crazy. I mean, he was averaging 28.2 PPR points per game in your format. That is ridiculous, dude. I mean, I'm all for a tight end premium, but a full point seems crazy, dude.
That just seems excessive, but I mean,
433 points. My bad. So I actually added up the total points instead of just the receptions. So you're right, 433 points. But still, Sam Laporta was the most valuable asset in all of fantasy last year. Then that's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. That is pretty wild.
But we've got his team here, and let's dive into it, Badaki. Now, according to Keep Trade Cut, he is second in the power rankings with a grade of 74 out of 100. What I will say is your league looks very imbalanced. Actually, to a point, it's kind of balanced, except one team is completely dominant. One team has a 99 out of 100 grade. Everyone else is under 75. You're the only other team in the 70s. Everyone else is in the 60s, 50s, and 40s.
Yeah, which makes sense because there's a tight end premium, and he has Sam Laporta and Trey McBride and Michael Mayer. I mean, if you get those top 3 tight ends there, that is already crazy. But look, let's have a look at your team here. Number 2, it looks like, in the power rankings for you, Chase. Starting off at the quarterback position, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Deshaun Watson, and Will Levis. Looks like you're pretty set here at the quarterback position. Yeah. Honestly, I would be okay to even drop Sean Clifford, Stetson Bennett, maybe even Hendon Hooker, to be completely honest with you.
Depends on how deep your rosters are for sure. But I agree with Bennett and Clifford for sure.
Yeah. I wonder if we could potentially be moving one of these guys, one of the 4. I think I want to keep CJ and Anthony. Maybe we can move Deshaun or Will for a good price.
The difficult part is only CJ and Anthony are going to get you a good return.
Yeah, I guess depends on how bad the teams on the lower end are and if they have the draft capital. Yeah. And if they don't, then maybe that can...
Sorry. Someone just commented tight end room goes crazy, and I hadn't looked at the tight end room yet.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton Endershot. Who?
Only the tight end 3 on the Dallas Cowboys.
Honestly. But look, there's upside here. And look, let's go straight to that. In reality, you do have the 101 and the 103. In a tight end premium in a SuperFlex draft where you have CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson, do you just take Brock Bowers at the 101? Like, I think that could be a really, really big thing here potentially.
Do, but I do think he's the 103. I still think Caleb and Marv or Caleb and Neighbors, whatever,
We'll go like the
Yeah.
the 1-2. You still think
But
so?
I do think the 103 is totally in play for Brock Bowers. You know what? In a half Titan premium, I probably wouldn't go 103. But in a full point, 2 points per reception premium, I mean,
You would do 101.
I definitely think the 103 Brock Bowers is in play. Now, there's an asterisk there. The asterisk is, oh, you know what? Brock Bowers fell down the board and he's actually a second round pick, right? Remember, guys, this time last year, no one was talking about Michael Mayer in the second round. Everyone was talking about him as a top 15 solidified pick. It's just the nature of the tight end position. That doesn't mean I don't think Brock Bowers is an incredible prospect. All I'm saying is that has to stay fluid. But yeah, I think the 103 for sure is in play.
So 101 then. I think maybe let's continue to build on that then. You can get Marvin. You have, it looks like a deep wide receiver room. But can you get a hole? Can you move back to the 103 or sorry to the 104?
But Aki, do you know what time it is?
Sure.
It's time for the whiteboard. You know, I implemented the whiteboard while you were away. But join me, brother.
I'm watching. I'm listening. I'm here.
Right. It's whiteboard season. It's time to pull out the whiteboard. We're gonna talk through some scenarios for these picks. You and I, we will walk through it together. Now, why don't we, Badaki, talk through scenario 1? Scenario 1 is stay put. Okay, we don't move. We stick and pick. We will also talk scenario 2, which is basically, we'll call it pivots or maneuvers, whatever. How do you even spell maneuver? I'm putting myself on blast here. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be terrible doing this because I can't spell.
Let's walk through these scenarios, yeah?
Sure.
So if he were to stay put, in my personal opinion, we've talked about this, the 101 is fluid. Caleb or Marvin, completely fine with that, okay? I even think you could put neighbors in that conversation. Not everyone's going to say that. But let's say he sticks and picks. I think Marvin makes the most sense for this team. Do you agree?
Yes, I would agree.
I do think at the 103, Brock Bowers is in play. I also think Malik Neighbors is in play. Do you want to put a quarterback in play there too? I guess if we're going,
yeah,
we want to trade there for value.
Yeah, why not?
And then at the 201, this is totally a team, in my opinion, that has to go wide receiver with how deep this class is. McConkey, Adonai, Mitchell, Worthy, throw in another name, Coleman, right? Best wide receiver available. And then at the 301, 303, 304, these are all just BPA, right? Would you change anything about scenario 1? Because that's how I would play it out if we were to stick and pick.
No, that's how I would pan it out. Marvin Harrison. Yeah, that's how I would do it.
Okay, so let's say we were to maneuver. I actually think that because you and I have been talking up the top 5 picks this year, I'm not going to say everyone's been saying that, but it feels like that's almost becoming consensus. Like the top 5 are really good. People are finding it really difficult to trade back from the 101. So I almost wonder if it's even going to work. But if you were to trade the 101 for this team, what sort of package are you looking for in return? And what team can we identify that we would want to trade with?
Well, first of all, I would want a hole for the 101. I want an absolute superstar. I want a guy that I know that's going to be solidifying me points week in and week out with some youth. You think of, I'm just going to throw names out here. You think of the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jeffersons, the CeeDee Lambs. That's exactly who I'm looking for the 101 if I'm going to potentially be maneuvering off that pick. I don't think I want to pivot into the running back position at the 101 personally. That's probably about it. And I would also say, look, if you can pivot from the 101 to a proven quarterback like the Josh Allens, the Joe Burrow, the Patrick Mahomes, sure, why not go for that? But I doubt that person would do that unless they love Caleb Williams.
I don't mind the idea. I just don't think it benefits our team at this moment with our strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. I like what you're saying with Chase, Jefferson, Lamb. this team, when we look at their wide receiver room, we've got literally no one I would have inside my top 25 in my rankings. You know, that's just true. So if I was to pivot off the 101, I'd be trying to get inside that top 5, and I would be trying to get a wide receiver I love. So can I go the 105 plus? Let's start naming some names. I don't think Puka's realistic. Would be awesome, but I don't think Puka's realistic. But I think we have to go down a tier here, because I've said this many times. The 105, in my opinion, might be just as valuable as the 101 this year. 105 in Nico Collins.
I think at the 105,
I like that. 105
in
Rashee Rice. The 105 and Brandon Ayuk. The 105 in DJ Moore. The 105 in Michael Pittman. Waddle. The 105 in Dell.
Yep.
I think
I'm there with
that's the range we're looking at.
I'm there with you. I would also say the only running back personally I would put in this category would probably be the Jahmyr Gibbs. If I get the 105, hypothetically, that is a Malik Neighbors, and I get Jahmyr Gibbs to tier up at the running back position, that would probably be the only thing I would be okay with. But
at the same time, you and I would agree that running back's probably not a concern for this team, though.
Exactly. But once again, just wanted to give you some more scenarios.
Yeah. So that is an option. And I'm curious what, let's put the community rankings to test here. Dynasty, full PPR. This is a SuperFlex. It is a tight end premium. We've got quarterback, running back, 3 wide receivers. We have a tight end and 2 flex spots. 2, 4, 9, 10. Yeah, right? So let's say we were to get the 105 and we send away the 101. Who has the 105?
105 is Team 5, BMR, which I was looking at. He has Drake London, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, some names that you already named, which is awesome.
That's great. And he desperately needs quarterback, by the way. This dude needs Caleb Williams on his team. So I feel like Collins, Rice, London, all doable names there. I wonder what our community would think of this. So if we put in Rashee Rice here, for example, how would this work out? So it says you win. I wonder what Keep Trade Cut would say. Why don't we have a look at their calculator as well? It's always good to cross-reference the different calculators people are using. So we get the 105, and we get Rashee Rice. We send away the 101. They say that's an even deal. So that is a deal that you can go out and pursue. The other name he had on there was Drake London. Honestly, I think I would do that too, Badaki. I really do.
I would do it for London as well. I think the people on this team, it will be Drake, or London, Collins, Rice, and
Collins for sure. You and I are both in on Collins, right?
Yeah, 100%. I know Chris Olave is a big name that we haven't really spoken about, but I don't know if I want to invest in him at the moment. I feel really confident.
Sorry to cut in there, but I would be super confident in taking that deal. The issue is I just thought it was unrealistic. I think people are viewing Olave in a way where it's no way that deal gets done. Yeah, even though our perceived value, you and I, we might not think he's actually that much more valuable than those other names that we mentioned. But I just think, hey, he's wide receiver 9 right now in Keep Trade Cut, wide receiver 8 in the community rankings. So that might be difficult to do. But
yeah. So it just really depends on that person, on that player there, when it comes down to something like that and maneuvering off the 101.
I think I'd be willing to do it for any of those top names. 100%. That's a great scenario. Why don't we look at who has a 104 as well? So this guy has a 104. He's got Tank Dell. I'd be willing to do it for Dell and Addison as well. To the 104. So, that...
I'll do it for Dell, not Addison.
Not Addison? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my reasoning for that is because I've said this many times. I feel like the 104 is just as valuable as the 101. The top 5 picks, put me anywhere in there, and I'm totally fine with it. So I just view it as getting Addison for free. But I definitely hear where you're coming from. You said who was the other name on there that they had? Dell?
Yeah, it was Dell.
Yeah. So for me,
on that team.
any of those deals, I'm totally fine with. That makes a ton of sense. You stay in the top 5. You also improve your wide receiver room, which, let's be honest, Chase, you know this. It's cheeks. It's cheeks. All right. The other thing that he talked about, and by the way, I also think we can look at moving back from the 103 and taking Marvin at the 101. Look for similar deals that we just talked about, right? At the 201, I think the names stay the same, though. I still think, regardless, you're going best wide receiver available at the 201, right? We agree?
Yeah. 201 all stays the same there.
And then let's play one more scenario for the 101, where
I do have one scenario as well. I don't know which way you're going to go, but I'm interested to hear yours.
Well, the only thing I was just going to say is like an absolute haul, which is basically like someone gives me, and like in a haul, you're not getting one of these top names like Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, you know. But let's say someone is going to offer you, like, this is the kind of haul I have in mind. I mean, let me just quickly find a team that has insane draft picks. Who has a ton of draft capital in your league? All right, so Team 11, for example. They have the 102, the 107, the 112, 202. They have their 25 first. So let's say this guy gives us, you know what, he's not a good, his team is actually dog shit, no disrespect. So not... That was disrespectful to say that. So not a good partner there. But let's say Waddle, the 110, their future first in a couple seconds, like, for example, right? Like, that's the kind of haul I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, basically an offer that's just too good to refuse is what I'm trying to say. Okay? What was the idea that you had?
Well, my thought process was, how comfortable are you? Because one of the guys I said you should trade and pivot off of, just based off of community value right now, is Anthony Richardson. I want to keep CJ Stroud. I'm happy to keep Anthony Richardson, but can I keep the 101? Maybe get the 102. Can I get the one? Can I get the 102 and more, or something else, and still get Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Brock Bowers, all three? Because in reality, I mean, how much risk are you really taking here with Anthony Richardson? Because we haven't seen how much what he has done in the full season. Like, do you cheer up to a quote unquote Patrick Mahomes tier type of quarterback in Caleb Williams at the 101 there? Well, that's the only reason why I'm thinking about pivoting off of Anthony Richardson and thinking about getting a haul.
The reason I like this idea is if we can get the 102 plus something. That way we have the first three picks. We're on the same page. Hello. Okay, sorry. My computer did that really cool thing that it loves to do randomly, where it just completely disconnects all Bluetooth and anything that's plugged in via USB. So that was cool. All right, we're back. Go ahead and talk for me.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back.
Check.
They should be able to hear you.
Cool.
So scenario 3 is pivoting off of A-Rich. I like this idea, Badaki. Now, in this scenario, we are also getting pick 102, and I think that's the only pick that makes this work. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
So who has the 102?
Which I'm trying to find here. 102 is Team 10, which is the really bad team, unfortunately.
I don't see...
It's
okay. So in this scenario, we are getting the 102, the 107, and their future first. That's probably too much to ask for, actually. I would actually say the 102 and their future first. Look at how dog shit this team is. Their future first should be treated as gold. Right? I personally would be fine if we A-Rich for 102 plus the 2025 first.
Yep.
And then that puts you in a position where you get Marvin, you get Caleb, you get Bowers or Neighbors, and you also get a future first, which is going to help you build this team.
Yeah. That's probably my... If I had to choose the number one, I think I would go there, because you get the elite wide receiver prospect, you get the elite quarterback prospect, and you get the elite tight end prospect, and that instantly changes your team. And all you did was pivot off of Anthony Richardson, and you're getting a haul on top of the picks that you already have here, Chase. Which, personally, once again, I think it's my favorite move, and I don't think there's no risk here, because once again, with the limited amount of work, if Anthony Richardson played a full season and he finished top 5, we'd probably be talking completely different. But that wasn't the case.
I will say I'm not opposed to building around A-Rich. I just think that this is better value perceived based off the community's value of him. So I definitely agree with you. This is a fun scenario here, and I'm more interested in it because I think you get a player that's just as good as A-Rich, and you get a future first-round pick. Now, he did talk about, and I think this will be the last thing we'll talk about for his team. And Chase, if there's anything we haven't talked about, let us know in the comments before we go to the next team. He did talk about his running backs. He said, I just don't know. My team's not in the window. Do I keep these running backs? They're going to help me win. In my personal opinion, Badaki, if we make the moves that we are talking about, we end up with Brock, we end up with Marvin. If we do this move where we get a London and the 105, which could be neighbors, we get a Rice and the 105, a Collins and the 105, we're in a position where we're not far off from competing at that point, right?
Yeah.
We're not that far off. Now, we do need to keep building around our wide receiver room, but we're not far off. What I would say is I'm definitely not opposed to pivoting off of these names for guaranteed wide receivers and just waiting till 2025 to address the running back spot. So let's look at the community rankings right now. And I'm curious what would be equivalent, I guess, to those names. So like a Bijan, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I would much rather have Amon-Ra for this team, for where you are right now as a team. We talk about Puka. Can you get Puka and a second-round pick? Remember, running backs like Bijan are very difficult to find. So in a trade, they should offer you more. And that's a little bit opposite of what you're hearing in the community. But go try and trade for Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs right now in a Dynasty League. Because it's not happening. You're not getting those players. So anyway, Puka Nakua's in there. I wouldn't really put A.J. Brown. It's not that he's not like equivalent value. Of course, if you can pivot off of Bijan to a Chase Lamb or Jefferson, you do it. But I also wouldn't be opposed to like pivoting to like an Ayuk or a Collins and a Rice or a Waddle. Some of those names that we mentioned earlier and future draft capital. So that's totally something that you could look at as well. But at the same time, don't feel like you have to move these guys off your team. Like, it's totally fine if you're set at running back and, you know, you're only competing in a year from now. That's totally okay. Just make sure you're getting good value from it. But anything else we want to talk about?
No, I would agree there. Look, be aware of those, you know, the 301 and the 303, best player available. That could be a running back that maybe falls, that might have opportunity later on. We've seen those guys, unless, you know, Trey Benson goes to the Eagles in this early second, maybe he's worth a 201.
Yeah.
It just all depends on where that draft capital goes for some of those players, and maybe you can get another depth player at the running back position with those draft picks. If not, wide receivers, it looks like is what you need here. But
yeah, so like
great team overall.
Tank Dell and multiple first-round picks in the future, great. London, same deal, great. Ayuk, you know, future first, great. Waddle, Rice, London, or Collins, DJ Moore. I know he's a little bit older. Olave, you know, any position where you can put yourself where you're getting a wide receiver we love and you're getting future draft capital, that puts you in the green. So, yeah, I think this is a fun team. It has very clear weaknesses. Unless Peyton Hendershot, hey, there's got to be there has got to be a better free agent wide receiver on your waivers. There is no way that is there not even Brevin Jordan. Do you know what I mean?
Tight end. Yeah.
I mean, no, look, we got people hogging up the tight end spot. Of course, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really valuable. But look, that's all going to change when you draft Brock Bowers. My question is,
I'll say as well, I don't mind pivoting off of Brock Bowers to like an Andrews or a Kincaid, any of these names where I can get future capital as well. So it's just pivot season for this team, really.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's good.
None of these names, by the way, you're going to be able to sell high. So you got to keep those dudes. Chase says, I think we're good. Love the scenarios and hope. And hoping I can find a diamond in the rough with my later draft picks.
Yeah.
Roster size is crazy. Ant shit on waivers. Okay, Joey, we hear you. Yeah, we'll do our best on that as well. But we appreciate you, Chase. You know you've got your fantasy hotline.
Yeah, come
you know
through
you can hit us
anytime.
up at any moment over there. We are going to go to the next team, but just a heads up, if you guys want your team graded, very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. I just put a link in the chat that you guys can use as a direct link. So I did see a couple people asking, wait, how can I get my team reviewed? How can I get this process for myself? That's how you do it. All you got to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. I put a direct link in the chat. Make sure you are hitting instant access if you don't want to wait on that 7-day free trial to end for your roster to be reviewed. But that's how you get that all done. But let's move on to the next team today, which I believe is going to be Ghost.
Ghost, okay.
Ghost is the next team. Let me put a little check mark on Chase's.
Little Ghost Killer.
Ghost is next. What is up, Ghost? If you're in the chat, let us know. We always love talking to y'all. You know, it's not like we can't do it without you in the chat either, you know. You know, some people have talked to us and said, hey, I actually don't want it on the stream. Is that okay? And we're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
They don't want their teammates seeing
We'll do whatever you want, man. Whatever you want.
Which makes a lot of sense. All right, Ghost is up here. He says, going into year 3 of this 10-team SuperFlex league, this was my first SuperFlex league and only Dynasty league I've ever been in, and definitely had some learning curves and growing pains. Just curious to see what type of route I should take with my roster. 16 playoff, which I've made both years so far, but I don't necessarily count myself as a contender. Just curious to hear your take on my team and what you think my course of action should be moving forward. Thanks, guys. Love the content.
No worries. So it looks like he has Dak Prescott here. Okay. Carly Hospital is his name. Carl Hospital.
Yep. Does he have Dak and Jared Goff on that
Dak
screenshot? Okay.
And Jared Goff. Correct here. And I'll go straight into it here.
Wait, here we go. We're on the right page. Go ahead.
Okay, here. Looking at Ghost's team here. Quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers here. Not a terrible quarterback room. I think it's pretty good. I mean, Dak Prescott QB3 this past year. Jared Goff finishing as a top 10, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Going into the playoffs, literally always making it one game out of the Super Bowl, essentially. He should be getting a long-term contract extension. This is exactly what you want. I think it's a good solidified quarterback room that you don't have to worry about moving forward.
It certainly doesn't have like a top 8 solidified dynasty quarterback, but I feel good about those guys long term still. I wouldn't say it's a huge area of like it's a glaring area of need. Yeah.
No, absolutely not there at the quarterback position. So I think you're pretty set there. You keep Matthew Stafford, you keep Aaron Rodgers, and you see what those guys can do going into this year as well. Running back position here looks also pretty well. Jahmyr Gibbs, Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard, Keaton Mitchell there. And I like that you have this Lions backfield. Pacheco coming up really clutch as well, especially Tony Pollard. I think this offseason for running backs should be an absolute, jumble, because all these guys can find new places. All these guys can get new opportunities. And if Tony Pollard does land in the right spot, or maybe stays with Dallas Cowboys again, and they don't bring in somebody, he's still a guy who finished, if I'm not mistaken, as a, top 15 type of running back. And it wasn't what we were hoping and expecting, but still, he still came up with some decent points on a week-to-week basis when he found his rhythm there.
I would also just jump in on there on Tony Pollard. There are certain players that we give the injury card to. Like, they were coming off an injury, our expectations were low. And there are certain players that we don't. I think Pollard's one of those names where we didn't actually give him that injury card. Because it wasn't an ACL, it was a little bit of a different injury. I was watching an interview with him recently, and he talked about how he didn't feel like himself as a player. He didn't think he had the same juice or the same explosiveness until the Carolina game. And funnily enough, he is PFF's highest graded runner from the Carolina game onward in the NFL season. So I do think Tony Pollard might be a little bit undervalued right now, but I agree with you in the sense of like all these names actually could have roles. So
100%.
I think there's no reason to pivot off these names right now.
Yeah, and I think someone like a David Montgomery is also really undervalued, especially the way Jahmyr Gibbs finished the season. I think having that 1-2 punch there in the Lions backfield is pretty significant in my personal opinion. And David Montgomery is somebody that I want to be investing in all offseason because of how people are expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to take over, which I do expect, but I still believe David Montgomery is going to have that opportunity. So
I think it'll be very similar to what we saw the last 10 games of the season next year.
Yeah. So far, I think the quarterback room and the running back rooms feels pretty strong here as well. How many starting? Let's just double check here. I want to see how many.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 starters and a kicker. 3 wide receivers
and a flex.
1 flex and a super flex.
Okay.
9 total
3
starters.
wide receivers. Okay, so
you
at
can
the wide
start
receiver,
4 wide receivers.
Yeah, 4 wide receivers, which at the moment, as I look, Amon-Ra, Tank Dell, Richie Rich, Mike Evans, Romeo Keenan. I mean, you have your starting lineup here. I mean, yes, you have some older guys in the Mike Evans if he does stay with Tampa. Keenan Allen, what's going to happen there? Do they bring in like the Malik Neighbors? What's going to happen with Mike Williams there? I think probably one of the best things here is that you could probably get another heavy hitter wide receiver to solidify that flex spot. Because in reality, your starting lineup, Amon-Ra, Tank Dell, Rashee Rice are your starting 3 wide receivers there. And then you have your veterans to flex with Mike Evans and Keenan Allen, with Romeo Dubs as well. I mean, let's not forget Romeo and Brandon Cooks. Those guys definitely had some shining lights throughout the season, specifically the second half of the season for Brandon Cooks there.
You could even put Pollard and Montgomery as flex options too.
Sure.
I mean, if we go throughout his entire starting lineup, Badaki, this is how I would play it. Dak and Goff starting, obviously. That's 2.
Mm-hmm.
Gibbs, Pacheco, Amon-Ra, Dell, Rice, and at the flex, probably Evans right now, and then Trey McBride. That is, if you were to do a SuperFlex redraft league and you had that team, you'd feel pretty good heading into the year.
Yeah, 100%. Look, this team feels really solidified. I'm not necessarily sure. You do have the 110.
Let's bring out the whiteboard, yeah?
Yeah.
I would say, personally, Badaki, let me know what you think. I don't think this is it, because he was asking for direction, basically, with this team. This is not a team that I view and I go, we need to hit the reset button.
Yeah.
I do not view that at all. You agree?
I guess, yeah, no, I completely agree. Let's see what really separating him here. Wow, I mean, Team 1 has Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
Is Team 1 a giant?
Yeah, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Etienne, Barkley, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Jake Ferguson, or Evan Ingram will be his starting lineup. Team 2 here. Team
1 is a giant, but there's not much you can do about that, unfortunately. Like, no disrespect to this, might sound stupid, but it's like the Raiders trying to build a team and they're like, well, the Chiefs are in our division. It's like, yeah, they are. Good luck, buddy. You know? But look, this is definitely a team. You agree with me? Like, we're not tearing this down.
No, we're not tearing it down whatsoever. I think this is a solidified team. Now, there's definitely places where you could potentially pivot or move if you really wanted to, but I'm not necessarily sure how you can without giving up somebody that's pretty valuable here. I think of, once again, pivoting. Not necessarily I want to pivot off of the Mike Evans or Keenan Allen, but we know that they're getting to that end of their career here. And you want to go for a little bit more youth. I just don't see how you can get that youth by pivoting off of those guys. But the only way I can see that is from the 110 that you have. You do have the 110, and that can be...
Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Who is the 110 in your rankings right now?
Yeah, let me pull that up quick.
Your SuperFlex rankings, because I believe for me that's Brian Thomas, Troy Franklin range.
Okay.
It's also JJ McCarthy range, by the way.
Yeah, so my ranking SuperFlex 110. I have Bo Nix, Troy Franklin, JJ. are in my SuperFlex at the 110 there. Brian Thomas is a little bit higher for me.
So these are the names that are in play, really. McCarthy, Nix, Franklin, Brian Thomas Jr., McConkey. I would personally say that even though this team is good at quarterback, if McCarthy does go in the top 20 of the NFL draft, if he even just goes first round, and, you know, he's a name that everyone hates, but if he goes in the first round, I 100% think he's in play for this team. He absolutely is in play if he's a first-round pick. I don't care where he goes. If he's a first-round pick, he's totally in play for this team. You have a good quarterback room, but, hey, would it surprise anyone if Stafford and Rodgers retire next year? I'm not saying it will happen, but would it surprise anyone? No. We still feel good about Goff and Dak moving forward, but you could use a young upside name in there. So I definitely think McCarthy's in play. At the 204, I feel like your team is in a position, honestly, where every pick is best player available. You don't have a need, and that's how we approach every rookie draft anyway. But is that, I don't care if it's a running back, I don't care if it's a wide receiver, for all these picks. It's just who is the best player available. And when you ask us, hey, how do I identify that? When we, you know, the draft happens, we will release our rankings for you guys to see. And wherever you are, whoever's the player that's available on the board is who you draft, regardless of position, in my opinion.
Yeah, completely agree. And, you know, what you have here with your picks in the second round, you have what we, not what we like to say, but you just have one, like we've been talking about how we should be getting so many second round picks.
Yeah.
In the middle of the second round, even to the late of the second round, and you have a good even balance here from the 204 to the 209 here. Maybe you can package the 208 to the 209 and maybe go up to the 202 if you really wanted to get one of those players. If you really wanted to get another running back in Trey Benson or Jonathan Brooks, if you wanted to get a Jaleel McLaughlin if he goes somewhere, and Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell, if you wanted to get more depth on your team for somebody that you really like, maybe you're a Texas fan, right? Maybe you are whatever fan, you can get one of those guys that can solidify your team a little bit more at the wide receiver position. Xavier Legette is somebody that I would like there in the second round.
Yeah.
So it just,
I agree.
Best player available is definitely the key here when it comes down to your team. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think you're too far off to at least compete with team 2 and 3. Team 1 is just a heavy hitter.
And by the way, I've been in plenty of leagues where I have a dominant team like Team 1 does. And guess what? 3 injuries happen. And all of a sudden I'm like, damn, I got to start Desmond Ridder or Mac Jones?
Well, I'll tell you this. I bet you Team 1 didn't win last year because he had Joe Burrow, who didn't finish.
And Herbert, yeah.
And Herbert, who didn't finish. He had Justin Jefferson, who missed almost the whole season. Jamar Chase was injured for a couple games. I mean, that team didn't win, but still, he's the heavy hitter.
So we're definitely competing. We're 100% competing. We are not selling off assets unless they're good value. I would say every name here, Badaki, that is a running back outside of Jahmyr Gibbs, I am open to moving, but it needs to be the right price. And if you get offers for them, feel free to DM us on your hotline. The other scenario, this is the last scenario I really want to talk about. By the way, tight end room, fantastic. We don't need to make a move here. The other scenario I wanted to talk about, and also don't get rid of your first round pick next year. That's just a pet peeve of mine. You have Allen Towns next year, which is great because his team has no draft picks this year. And, you know, that could go sideways very quickly. But anyway, last thing I wanted to talk about here, and I'll ask you if you want to, say anything else. Scenario 2 for me, how we use these draft picks, we'll call this pivot. What can I package the 110 with to upgrade at a different position? I would not mind packaging Jared Goff in the 110. I'm not saying Goff in particular, right? But it could be Dak. It could be Dak. It could be Goff. Plus the 110. What quarterback could I get here? If there is no other quarterback drafted in the first round, right? Let's talk about some names that I would say are in that range for me. Could I go out? I feel like Justin Herbert right now is hella disrespected. I'd also put Kyler Murray in that conversation.
Okay.
For me, so let's look. They received the 110 and they received Jared Goff. Can I get a Kyler Murray? And we have to change these settings, obviously, to his league. It's not a tight end premium, is it?
No, it's not.
It's just a 2 quarterback start 9.
Yeah.
So SuperFlex, is it a 10-man Badaki or a 12-man?
Let me just double check. 2, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is it 9 men? 10 plus the kicker, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, I'm not asking starting. I'm asking how many owners are in the league. 10.
Oh, 10 men. 10 men. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's 10.
Okay, so it's a 10-man. All right, I just want to make sure we have all that updated. So yeah, I personally would be willing to do this deal. You could also throw in names like we talked about, Justin Herbert. I would be willing to do this deal as well. I'm not saying you have to do these things, right? But things that you can throw out. A lot of those ideas might not get accepted. And again, we say it every time we're live. Every deal that we tell you guys is not going to get accepted. These are ideas to start conversations around. I also would not be opposed to attaching the 110 and Pacheco or Montgomery, right? So in this scenario, we are going, let's say it's Montgomery or Pacheco, whoever is going to bring you more in return. Like, can that equal, like a Brees? Maybe we have to add something else to get that deal done. But I'd be willing to look at that. Who has Brees Hall here? This guy has Brees Hall, Achane. He has no picks. Does he want to get in this draft? Right? Does he? Because he has a lot of running backs here. So maybe he is willing to move him. Can it be Brees Hall plus the 110, plus one of those second-round picks that we have? Plus the 206. Is that deal doable? If it is, great. Go out and get it done. If it's not, okay, we tried. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be. Every deal doesn't have to go through. So that's why I'm saying, like, don't be opposed to using the 110 to upgrade somewhere. We can keep it and we can stick and pick, but we can also use it to upgrade in other areas. I don't personally think your wide receiver room really needs a pivot. You got 3 names that we love, and you got 2 vets that you could start at any moment too. So that's the thing. Last thing I would say. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it. That's about it. I'm always, just know this. Don't try and pivot down. If somebody were to offer you, the 110, or like you offer Goff and the 110, and they say, you know what, I'll give you the 106, but I'll give you Daniel Jones. I don't think that's something that you should be doing. Like, don't pivot down from Jared Goff. Just pivot up. Which I'm pretty sure is self-explanatory.
Yeah.
To you, but just as a reminder.
I'd also say I'm not opposed to moving either of these quarterbacks if you can get a first-round pick in return, but unlikely. I wouldn't be opposed to moving one of them for multiple second rounds either. Anything else?
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's it. That's good.
Okay, cool. But yeah,
appreciate you, man. Use Hotline.
Ultimately, Ghost said he wanted to, get a general sense of where he should go, and I think you're still in the dance, brother.
Yeah,
I think this is in the dance.
This is a good team. So head up, baby. Head up, and let the draft come to you.
All right, we are going to Kieran's team next. Kieran is next. What's up, Kieran? And as we're about to go to the next team, there might be some people in the chat wanting to know how they can get their team reviewed. Very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. Got to be using the code LAND. I just put a direct link in the chat. If you're watching this later, there will be a pinned comment as well. Once you become a Mother Flocker member, go up to account at the top right, link your Discord, and then you should automatically get access to all of our premium Discord channels, including the roster submissions tab under the Fantasyland group there. So, Badaki, Kieran is up next.
Yeah, Kieran's up next here. He's in startup draft $200. I went Hurts with the number 2, then traded Hurts and Olave for the 101. So a bunch of trade stuff here. So traded Achane to
looks like he traded Hurts and Olave for the 101 and the 102.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I mean, let's just start there. I feel like they should have returned more value. Or am I overthinking that?
I went Hurts, then trade Hurts, and I think that's I don't know. I think that's pretty even.
You think so?
Hurts.
Okay.
I think maybe because of how different we are seeing, maybe potentially a lot. I think Hurts alone is probably worth 2 firsts, and he got the 101 and the 102.
Yeah, I would say Hurts and Olave. You're not getting Olave for 1 first unless it's in the top 5, and I guess that's what's happened here. But I think Hurts is worth more than the 101.
Right, and I think Olave is nowhere near a top 6 pick for me at the moment.
In this class, I think the 106 is where he ranks around for me.
Yeah, and I think I think that's fair. 106. So like the fact that he got the 102, the 101, and the 102, I think is pretty significant here. Okay. Even if you lose a little bit, like what more would you add? Like a random second? I don't think you get a first. I don't think you get another first. I think you probably get a mid second, potentially early second if that was okay.
I love this
is
class.
Okay deal.
And y'all know how obsessed I am with the top 5. My only issue is you're taking 2 guaranteed assets and you're turning them into 2 what ifs. And I get that these are 2 very valuable picks, but we're also banking that the guys we're about to draft will be just as good as the guys that we gave away. And that doesn't always happen. So that's where my concern is.
That's definitely the risk when it comes down to trading, no question about it. Second trade, so traded Devon, the 208 for the 109 and
Javonte.
I'm assuming Javonte or Jameson. I don't know which one. Thinking I'm still a bit pick heavy, but I'm hoping it's an active league and I can move some value around.
I don't really dislike that deal, but I just don't like moving Devon Achane. Y'all know I'm an Achane guy. I think he's going to be a monster next year.
Yeah, all depends here. Hated giving up Devon, but was thinking that may allow me to get Caleb Marv and get one of the second tier quarterbacks. Will love a blueprint or just any advice would be helpful. Okay. So also I traded my first with another team for banter in the league. Okay. So I like to stay competitive in year 1. Yeah. That's not good.
I wonder what team you traded it with. Let's find out.
I'm trying to find like his team here because there's no team name or images. So it's a little bit.
He's in the chat with us. We see Kieran. So Kieran, can you tell us your team name, by the way?
Yes.
We're about to dive into it if you can tell us your team name. Last thing you said is the league has the 113 novelty pick for the winner of the Toilet Bowl. So the asset chaser in me wouldn't be against coming 7th for that, but main goal is being competitive year 1 or at least setting up year 2, as I feel a few teams went redraft-ish, might drop off quicker than they'd like. Okay, first off, I'm not going to say you and I invented this idea of like the Toilet Bowl pick, but we have been pushing that since day 1. But our gift to the Toilet Bowl winner is a 213. The 113 is crazy. That's kind of crazy. Like, that is huge value. So that is something to consider. I mean, if you're like that's in a position, if your league has trades during the playoffs and I was in the Toilet Bowl, I would trade to make sure I'm in a position to get that pick. But let's have a look at the team once we find out his name.
I think maybe his team is the Bears, because that team has the 101, the 102, and Jameson Williams.
Oh, so it was Jameson, not Javonte?
I think so.
Oh, no. Okay.
So he currently has the 101, the 102, the 109, the 110. He has pretty significant draft picks here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kieran. Like, just comment in the chat. Your team name is the Bears, right?
I hope. Oh, I thought that was Javonte, not Jameson. I don't like that Achane trade.
Did you hear the report?
I love Jameson. Y'all know I love Jameson. And I love that he's potentially going to be a starter next year. But, I mean, let me ask you, Badaki. Would you trade... Let's go back to what that deal was. Would you trade Achane and the 208 for the 109 and Jameson Williams?
No, it needs to be higher. I think I would say top 7 pick. I think 109 was a bit too low. And Jameson,
you're not going to find a running back like Achane at the 109 in this class.
And
but
look, at the end of the day, it's not terrible with his running back room, in my opinion. But yes, Devon.
But we also gave up the 208. We gave up a valuable second round pick. I don't know. I'm not in love with that deal, but I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But I think it is the Bears. He hasn't said anything as of yet, but I mean, with all the context that he's given, I think it comes together here. At the quarterback position, Baker Mayfield, Will Levis,
Oh no.
Aiden O'Connell. So it's not a good quarterback room, which really makes me believe that you're probably either going to go Caleb and another quarterback, or I know you did say Caleb and Marvin Harrison, which I think I might be prioritizing.
Kieran says Malik Neighbors, so I think he's saying he's going to go Malik Neighbors and Marvin. Is that what he's saying?
Is that what you're saying? Is this SuperFlex?
This is SuperFlex. Look, I have been in, Badaki, you and I have done a lot of startups, and we have tried a lot of strategies. I will say personally, for me, the strategy that has been my least successful is the one where I build a team and my focus is on getting future draft picks and betting on one class in particular. I will say this is one hell of a class to bet on, but at quarterback, we don't have really any foundational quarterbacks at all. At wide receiver, we're about to add to that, but really it's just DJ Moore that you feel good about building around. And at tight end, we do not have a name that we feel comfortable starting. So, you go through a lot of different phases in Dynasty and you try a lot of different strategies. And hey, you're going to have fun building this team. Don't get me wrong. But I will say that I mean, imagine this team, Badaki, with Jalen Hurts and Chris Olave.
Yeah.
You'd feel better about it.
Yeah, I definitely do feel better about it. No question about it. No, I definitely feel better about it. Let me ask you this.
His plan is to go Neighbors and Marvin, which would leave you with Baker and Levis to build around in a SuperFlex league. Do we know for sure that either of those guys are starters in 2 years from now?
This is what I was going to say. Baker Mayfield, 3-year contract extension, $50 million. Is he worth a first-round pick?
Well, here's the issue, dude. I know the direction you're going, but we don't have our first next year.
We can sell him. That's what I'm thinking. That's the direction.
But we need him because we don't have our first next year.
But we can get the quarterback at the 101 and 102.
I know, but our pick is not going to is not in our destiny. Who has his pick? Can we figure that out? Weenie Dogs has his pick. What does Weenie Dogs' team look like? Weenie Dogs has Hurts, Fields, White, Spears, Jacobs, Dell Wright. This guy's competing this year. We should not have done that.
That's a tough one.
We should not have done that.
Wasn't that the trade that he said that was just for Bance?
I think
also
so.
Traded my first with another team for Bance. Still, he got some great people in it. What was the Bance trade? Kieran, can you put in the chat what was the Bance trade?
Was it like a straight up 1-for-1 deal? Because that is going to potentially hurt if it was.
I'm not seeing what the first would have been for. I can see really only DJ Moore, Breece Hall, Caleb and Marvin. You think Caleb and Marvin?
So he might be behind on the stream. Maybe that's what he's doing with the 101 and the 102. But look, if this was a straight up trade for the 25 first and you were having banter with this guy, I'm sorry to tell you, but this guy's probably not. He's either your friend and he doesn't care, or he was taking advantage of you. I'm just going to be 100% straight up honest with you. This is something that I would probably try with someone in the league, and that you can't blame the guy. But if I knew that you built your team around, these rookies don't always perform the way that we want them to. And, veteran quarterbacks a little bit unsure. You only have DJ Moore right now that, we consider a locked starter. You have no starting tight end. This is the kind of deal I would do. He said, yeah, it was a 1-for-1 first for banter. Well, I can promise you that the other dude had strategy in that deal. I'm just going to be honest with you. This might not be what you want to hear, but we gotta provide honesty more than anything. That dude did not have your interests at heart. Tell me I'm wrong, Badaki.
No, I think you're right, and I think I'm ready for scenarios.
Okay,
I'm ready for the whiteboard.
So we maybe have been too negative. I don't want to be too negative, but I
think there's still hope here. That's why.
This is not a bad team. I just don't think we got the most value out of our startup. and the trades that we have made. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, I don't want to be negative, but I also think people support us and, you know, they want to hear our real opinions. And I hope Kieran, you're not taking any offense to what we're saying. I hope you get what I'm saying and where I'm coming from.
All right.
Because,
well,
look, that guy was not having banter. He actually took advantage of you. But let's move on. He says, I don't take offense. Okay, good.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, it looks like you have pretty significant draft capital in the first 2 rounds. Once again, 101, 102, 109, 110, 201 to the 209. So you can stick and pick with those scenarios, as you can see there.
Well, why don't we talk about what that would look like then if you were to stick and pick?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think there's 2 different scenarios for the stick and pick, because he said he really wanted... I personally think, with the way your quarterback room is going, I think you have to go Caleb and another quarterback, personally. I can understand going Caleb and Marvin. You can go best player available, however way you want to go about it. But I think that could be Jaden Daniels, Drake May, or Marvin Harrison Jr. at the 102.
I would agree with you if we had, like, even 2 wide receivers we liked. But you've got DJ Moore. That's it. And I love Jameson Williams and Jahan Dotson.
I think why I'm okay with this is because of the draft capital with the 109 and the 110. Yeah, you may not be getting Marvin Harrison Jr., but you solidify your quarterback room, which I think is pretty significant here, potentially. Which you don't have your 25 first, by the way. You have to wait until 26 to get a quarterback, hypothetically.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And then, but at the 109, you know, we talked about this. The 109, I mean, that can be another quarterback. That could be the Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy's if you wanted to wait to get another quarterback, if you really wanted to risk it. Or you can get the wide receivers, the Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy's, the Adonai Mitchells, Xavier to get whatever that looks like for you at the time. Well, that can be another way.
We're in a position where we are really relying on multiple factors for a quarterback to hit at the 109. We're relying on, firstly, more quarterbacks to go in the first round. Secondly, that no one will draft them ahead of us at the 109. So we are in a tough spot there, but I do think, you know, stay tuned into your fantasy hotline. You know, look at our rookie report when we release version 3. You'll see our rankings. In my personal opinion, I think the 102 and the 109 are very fluid as far as what you could do. I'm going to agree with you, Badaki, in the sense of, like, Caleb should be the 101, because I'll be honest with you, this might be one of the worst quarterback rooms in your league. I mean, let's have a look real quick.
I think the bright side is that the way Baker Mayfield played this year, this is why I think there's hope. Because there's quote-unquote rumors that Baker Mayfield could get contract extension. And if that is true, and if that does happen, hypothetically 2 to 3 year contracts, that gives you a little bit more hope. Not saying that he's going to be playing the way he played last year. Not saying that he's going to be producing what he did. He finished as a QB 10 this past year. I'm saying, okay, can I just send Baker for a random first in 25 or 26? I think that can then change your whole team by getting another future pick and saying, you know what, I just capitalized on Baker Mayfield, who wasn't valued as a first since he came into the NFL, essentially.
Well, right? He was when he was a rookie, but look,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that was since when? Since then.
My issue is fundamentally I can't do that because I don't have my pick in 25. So I am actively helping another user with the pick I don't have. So I definitely hear where you're coming from, but I don't think I can trade away Baker Mayfield on this team personally, because, like you said, and he said this in his comment, I want to compete in year 1. Well, getting rid of Baker, is not going to help you. So look, Caleb at the 101, at the 102, you can go Marv or quarterback or Neighbors. It would probably be Caleb and Marv for me. That's probably how I would play it. And at the 109, I would go, again, one of these names. McCarthy, if he's there, is fine. McConkey, Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr. And Kieran is saying, getting Baker, I was hoping it meant I would go Caleb and Marv. He says, and take a look at the rest of the league. It's a startup, not many huge teams. Totally. No, I definitely hear you.
I think there's definitely ways you can do that. Like, I seen Team 12 already that has Dak Prescott, Trey Lance, Bailey Zappi. Doesn't have any 24 first, but he does have a 25 first.
Yeah, this guy built an awful team. I don't know what he was doing.
But he does have incredible wide receivers: CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill.
That's it.
He has decent running backs. Travis Etienne there. But like that's somebody if Baker Mayfield gets a 3-year contract extension, I'm going straight to him and saying, hey, let me get that 25 first. You gotta need the quarterback.
I just can't do that when I don't have my own first.
I get it.
It fundamentally does not click with me to do it, but I hear you. Look. So he is saying that
upside here, though.
No, this is not a bad team. I'm just saying I think there were some moves that maybe did not benefit our team when we made them. Yeah. This is scenario one. He goes Caleb Williams. He goes Marvin Harrison Jr. At the 109, he can go McCarthy, Nix, McConkey, Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr. At the 110, those same names. Who is the best available player here, right? We can even add Franklin, obviously. He should already be in there, but we just didn't add it. But same thing can be said at the 109 for the 110. At the 201, who's the best player available there? Is it Worthy? Is it Mitchell? Right? Is it Coleman? Now, all this could work out. All these players could hit, and you could be sitting pretty. But that is probably the wrong expectation to have for any class, even though this seems to be a historically good class. But let's just play this scenario out, right? All of a sudden, now you have Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, Will Levis. That feels a little bit better, right? We haven't talked about running back, and maybe we haven't because it's really the area that you don't really need to look at because it's very good. Breece Hall, James Cook, Rashawn, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
At wide receiver, now you have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have DJ Moore, you have Brian Thomas, Troy Franklin, and Xavier Worthy. Okay, that's a really good room all of a sudden that you start to build. However, we don't know that all those guys are going to hit, right? The other issue we have to talk about is we have no tight end at all that we can start. And this is a tight end premium league. So Brock Bowers will not be available at the 109. Does that mean that we have to force a Jatavion Sanders in at the 201?
Yeah, earlier than expected. I mean, if Jatavion Sanders goes to a team in the early second, I think you might have to. But even I don't know if he even is available if he does go in the early second.
You'd have to gauge your league there.
Yeah.
I think if we aren't able to get a Sanders, we probably have to use a 209 as a trade piece and try and find a starting tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, like Evan Ingram is pretty cheap right now. Maybe you could at least start a conversation with a name like Evan Ingram. I mean, could you get a Michael Mayer? Probably not, actually. That's probably too low. People still like him as a prospect.
I'm thinking of names of like a Dalton Schultz.
If he signs somewhere, he's a free agent right now.
Yeah, he's just really cheap at the moment. A Dalton Schultz, I'm willing to try and take. Yeah, Dallas Goedert. I like him as well.
Luke Musgrave.
A Luke. It kind of goes down from there. Like, I don't think those top tier guys are going to be available. Personally, when you think of the Mark Andrews, it depends. I mean, you gauge it. Like, you think of Pitts, what can you get for Pitts? What can you get for the Jake Fergusons?
I'm definitely not opposed to using the 109 or the 110 on a tight end in a trade as well. If we want to get like a more premium tight end, so let's say we play out this scenario, but we use one of those picks to trade for a tight end. Let's say we use the 109 trade for a tight end. What's some tight ends that we could target at the 109? It is a tight end premium. Do we know if it's we don't know if it's like a 1.5. Maybe Kieran, you could tell us in the chat. Is it a half point? Is it a full point? Because that would obviously, it's probably half point. You're right.
I don't know if you know, but like I think that the plus only means half point. So if you get 2 pluses, I think it's a full point if I'm not mistaken.
On keep trade cut?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, right. That makes sense. So it's probably a half point. Let's talk about some names in a half point premium. for the 109 that makes sense. Because obviously you can get to a higher range than the names that we just mentioned. You're not going to get a McBride, but could you get like a man? Njoku feels too low, but Kincaid feels too high.
I think my perfect tight end who I love is going to probably be Cole Kmet.
Oh, I would not pay the 109 for Cole Kmet.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that for the 109. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, I think that is a perfect send your 209 for Cole Kmet.
You might have to send like your 209 plus your 305.
Yeah, for Cole Kmet, and then
that's
he's going to get an upgrade at quarterback there with Caleb potentially, or he stays with Justin Fields. I think it's a win-win scenario for someone like a Cole Kmet, personally.
Okay,
that's something I would do.
That's an option. If we were to trade the 109, I do think Kincaid for sure would interest me, if that's possible. Is this a 10-man or a 12-man? 12 and start 11. Ooh, that might be tougher, but let's try it. Tight end premium, 12, start 11, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm guessing 9, 10, 11. It must be 3 flex. I don't know that you get this deal done. Let's see what the community says. All right, look, if you can get that deal done, but I'm taking Kincaid for the 109. I would absolutely get that deal done. I wonder what Keep Trade Cut says.
They're
not taking into account. They're not taking into account your format. So Kincaid, we would totally do. Obviously, Andrews. You might disagree with me, but I would also do Kyle Pitts here. Those are some names that you could at least explore a conversation around. Because remember, we don't have to use all the picks on prospects.
No, we don't.
We can use them to trade and build a team that we like as well.
Package it up, move up.
I do want, Kieran, if you have any questions for us, please let us know in the chat. We want to be as helpful as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I think like when we first came in, it was a bit like on both of us. I think there's upside when you think of Baker. I think there's upside when you think of Will. I think there's upside when you think of Aiden O'Connell. Now, those upsides aren't going to be, these guys are going to be top 10 finishing quarterbacks week in and week out. Just thinking that like the upside is there because they could potentially be starting quarterbacks for you. At the moment, Aiden O'Connell, who you brought in a video, right, if I'm not mistaken, saying that if they don't draft a quarterback, he is a starting quarterback for the future for the Raiders, at least for 2024. That's some upside, which we've seen there with Devontae Adams. Same thing can be said about Will Levis, right? Like we've seen his spike games. Now it was not amazing, but a new offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, a new head coach, it's all going to be there for Will Levis. He can take a next step, and the same thing can be said with Baker Mayfield and how he already took the next step. So there's hope at the quarterback position.
Yeah. Look,
it just wasn't as...
We can paint a picture where things go right, but I also think you and I would agree if we ended a startup with that quarterback room in a SuperFlex, we would be like, oh, we got to address that. Now we 100%. Are, because we're adding Caleb. So now you add Caleb, Baker becomes your 2, Levis becomes your 3. That looks much better. So yes, we're probably initially too harsh, but also honesty is more important than us.
Yeah, 100%. And then, Breece Hall, James Cook, big old Roscoe.
Yeah, you don't sell these 3 names at all.
Yeah, I like that as well. And I also think the same hope can be said at the wide receiver position with Jahan Dotson. A new quarterback potentially be coming in, new offensive coordinator there as well, with Cliff Kingsbury, if I'm not mistaken. That he knows how to utilize the wide receiver room, especially if they get a top tier quarterback. Jahan Dotson is somebody that I'm trying to buy all over.
Oh, big time.
Personally. So like that is Curtis Samuel no longer potentially on this team, because if I'm not mistaken, that was his last year in his contract. If he doesn't get a contract extension, there's hope on this team with some upside. Things need to fall, obviously, and go the right way here.
I would also say, Badaki, that there is, in my personal opinion, there is no player that I'm looking at where I'm thinking I need to sell this guy right now and get value. And in fact, the only players that I think would be super attractive in the market is probably Cook, Hall, and DJ Moore. And those are players that I personally would like to build around, considering the context of his team. So there's no player that I would identify as like okay, you got to move off this player before things go south. Dotson, Jameson, we love them. They haven't reached their potential yet. So, hey, if they take a step up, then, we're cooking now with gas, right? Rashawn Johnson is not worth selling right now. You wouldn't get the return of what it's worth to wait and see if he's a starter. Same thing you said about Aiden O'Connell. So, look, this team is not a bad team. However, we also should be realistic in saying not every one of those picks that we accumulated are going to hit.
Yeah, I agree. Kieran said 1.75 is a tight end premium.
Yes, so that might be a little bit more tough on some of those names that we mentioned. Andrews, Pitts, Hawkinson. I'll just say, I do not mind spending the 109 on any of those names, though. McBride, Hawkinson, Pitts, Andrews, Kincaid. It's going to be tough, though, because that's a high premium. Did we draft a tight end? Did we talk about trading one at all?
I don't think
we had a tight end trade. So.
Well, we did have a tight end trade, the Cole Kmet one, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, I meant did he draft one in the startup?
Oh,
but okay.
I'm not sure.
I want to leave time to see, Kieran, do you have any questions for us? Let us know in the chat. I hope this wasn't negative. I just think we were going into okay, direction mode. How do we get this in the direction we want it to go?
Yeah. I think with the draft capital that you do have, I don't think it's terrible because there are a lot of ways you can go. I mean, you have 4 picks in the first round.
Yeah.
And I think best case scenario, if you really wanted to risk it, which we kind of mentioned in scenario 1, Caleb Williams, Marlon Harrison Jr., and then if JJ goes, top 15 and he does fall to the 109 somehow, and or Bo Nix goes in the first round, you can get another quarterback right there.
Yeah.
So I think there's some upside.
Karen says, no, not negative, only gaining perspective. Karen says, if Bucky Beaver went worse than me, are you against tanking? If Bucky Beaver went worse than me. Is that the guy that we sent our pick to? No, who's Bucky Beaver?
Bucky Beaver. Next minute, this is not his team.
Maybe Bucky is Weenie Dogs.
Are you talking about he's the first trade?
So is that the Achan one? No, that's the Hertz Alave one. Hertz Alave. Who has Hertz Alave? Weenie Dogs. Oh, that's Weenie Dogs. Okay. So you're saying if he's worse than you? Look, I don't want to be negative, but I don't think he's going to be worse than you. But if he is, for sure. If you had your own 25 first, Badaki talked about this, I probably would have been looking to move off of Baker after you got a long-term deal. I would probably also, if Will Levis starts playing really well in the season, be interested at seeing what I could get in return for him. But at the moment, we have to keep those names. Because I don't think the team that he traded with is... I don't see this team not making the playoffs, is what I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same thing.
Look at that tight end premium. He's got Laporta and a 1.75 tight end premium. He can start Fields and Hurts. He's got 3 running backs you and I like. I mean, what if Jacobs leaves and Zamir White's a starter? So I think he's going to have a good team.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Now look, will it hold up long term? It might actually. These are some young pieces that are good.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. We appreciate you though, Kieran. Remember, you can use your fantasy hotlines when you have those trades. You have those trades come in. Send it to us. Yes. Hey, what do you guys think? Is it worth it? Should I move up? Should I move down? That's what the fantasy hotline is for, Kieran. So definitely.
You know what I would do? I'd be like, bro, you know how it was funny when we traded our first round picks? What if we did it again? The league would go crazy. That's what I would do, Badaki. I would like, how funny. The league would be like, what are you guys doing? I would try and sell it hard. I'd be like, just send it through to him. Like, dude, it'd be hilarious if we did this again.
Next minute he goes, nah, man, I'm not willing to trade. He's like, wait, what?
Wait, I thought this was for fun. But look, there's a scenario here where all these rookies hit hard and you're competing year one. There's also a scenario here where only about half of them hit, and you know you're still next year with a very good team, but trying to build. So
yeah,
stay fluid, keep your hotline open. This is not a bad team at all. Just some of those decisions we might have tweaked a little bit. And I will say, take advantage of your fancy hotline. Keep in mind, guys, we might not be able to answer, you know, in the span of an hour, but we always answer within 24 hours. And yeah, if you want some perspective, hey, we might not do this deal. We might pivot here, or we might say, hey, does that guy have a second round pick? Can you do a pick swap? Can you add a second and a third? So feel free to DM us at any moment. And ultimately, I do hope that it was helpful.
Yep, we appreciate you.
All right, we have not done Joey's team. So Joey's up next.
Joey, okay. Didn't Joey say that he wanted to wait, or is that what
he said he wanted to be the last team of the night.
Oh, did he say that? Okay.
Yeah. So we will go ahead and get to. I'm assuming Joe Taft is Joey's, but we will get to Joey's team here. Just before we do, just a heads up, if anyone in the chat is asking, hey, how can I get this done for my team? Very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. You know, if you're watching on your TV, you can scan the QR code there. But ultimately, flockfantasy.com/LAND. Have to use a promo code LAND to get our perks. Become a member of the Mother Flocker tier. Then go to your account at the top right. Your account at the top right. Link your Discord and account, and you should instantly be able to access all of our premium Discord channels, including the roster submissions one under the Fantasyland tab. Make sure you choose instant access. Otherwise, you'll just have to wait for that trial to end. Joe says he's here, so that's great.
Perfect.
So we will have a look at his team here.
Yeah, Jackson back in action for big old Joey here. 1 quarterback, 12-team PPR, start 9. Transitioning to tight end premium this season and SuperFlex next season. Okay, that is very important. Basically treating this draft as though it's SuperFlex. I have a good draft capital with the 101, 103, and the 104. Injuries kind of derailed my squad last year. Caught a lot of bad breaks in close losses. I traded Joe Mixon for Drake London and 2 late picks. I think that's a great trade for you. I also traded Gabe Davis for what is now the 206. I think that's a pretty good trade as well. Looking to compete this season, let me know what you think about the 2024 and the future. I won the league in 2021, but had down season the past 2 years. My wideouts are pretty stacked, but I definitely need another running back. Do you think I would be all right with moving the 104 for someone good? Thanks, Zach and the Dacky. All right.
So let's just talk about those trades real quick. How did you get that done? Because Joe Mixon, I mean, you should have to send a lot with Joe to get Drake, and somehow you got Drake and 2 late picks.
I would imagine that like he just sold Joe high. He was on a burner in the second half of the season. Drake London wasn't. People were saying Drake London is never going to be a thing.
Yeah,
the Falcons were winning to go into the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. It's like this team is not getting a quarterback.
Yeah,
you know.
The other deal as well, Gabe Davis for the 206. There's no way you get that deal done now. There's no way you get the 206 for Gabe Davis now. It just would not happen. So well done with those.
I think
deals.
It's great.
His team name is Jackson's Back in Action.
Jackson's Back in Action, which makes sense and it suits his team. Because looking at the quarterback position here, Lamar Jackson, Will Levis here. And you are taking and treating this as a SuperFlex draft. And I wonder if anyone else in this league is going to be treating it the same way as well. I could be wrong. But I think if you have the 101, you draft a quarterback, don't you?
Well, what were the picks that he had? Can we go back and look at that?
Yeah, he said he has the 101.
Actually,
and the 101, 103, 104.
I would probably approach it slightly differently because I get to control the draft at the top. And like I said, for me, the 101 and the 103 are almost equal value, and that's because of how much I value the other players in the class. So for me, at the 101, I'd probably actually go Marvin because I know
At the 103, you'll get somebody of value. Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense.
So at the 103, I can grab a May or a Daniels. You know,
or you can get Caleb and then just get Malik Neighbors.
You could do that too. Both of those I'm completely fine with, honestly.
I mean, it just really depends on how you want to go about that, there, Joey.
Let's say here. So you're right. You could go Caleb at the 1, and then you could go Malik Neighbors at the 3. Either way, I think that these two scenarios are completely fine. I love both of these scenarios very much.
I think what you need to do is scout out what Team 2 is going to be doing. You have to figure out who he wants, what he's trying to get, because if that player does go and get, well, he doesn't ruin your draft regardless. It's just good to get a feel of what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, they don't have their specific picks, unfortunately, in their database yet. So we don't know who exactly has the 102, but maybe if Joe can tell us, that might help us. But yeah, I agree with you, Badaki. Treat this as a SuperFlex draft, and he already said that he's planning on doing it. So at the 104, we could even... I really don't think this is a team where I would be disinterested in taking 2 quarterbacks in the top 4. So I would say May, Daniels, Neighbors are all options.
He is transitioning, remember, to a tight end premium as well. I don't know how big that premium is going to be. Yeah, I'm not sure what that premium is going to be, but if that is a significant premium, then that's where I would be considering Brock Bowers at the 104 if it's pretty significant. It'd be really good, Joe, to understand what that premium is sooner rather than later, because if it's just a half-point premium, then you don't necessarily have to go out and get Bowers at the 104. Maybe you could get another quarterback or another wide receiver or whoever you do like. But if that premium is pretty significant, Bowers can be somebody that you get at the 103, like depending on how big that premium is. So
it's a start 9. And I wonder if they're going to be start 10 when they become SuperFlex or keep it to a start 9. He would be able to tell us that, but essentially a start 9 would be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex spots is what that sounds like.
Yeah.
So this year, you're going to compete. You probably need to figure out tight end. I wish I knew what your 2nd round pick was valued at.
Look, at the tight end position is not terrible. Yeah, Darren Waller he's probably going to be up and down all season, but I mean, I think it's a better tight end versus Kieran's team. No offense to Kieran, he didn't have anyone at the tight end position. Or sorry, maybe not Kieran. It was Chase.
Who had Peyton.
He didn't have anyone at the tight end position. So
outside of Waller, though, and really even Waller, we're not sure what production we'll get. I don't feel like I can rely on any of those guys. I do love Davis Allen as a stash, by the way. From the Rams. But does anyone have like a tight end surplus in his league? McBride, Musgrave, Kittle, Ingram, Kraft. Not really. This guy's got Hawkinson and Ferguson. We could try and get Ferguson.
You can. I think when it comes down to tight ends, like, they're going to want a hole, so I always love to get the lower tier guys that I really love. And I always go back to this name, that's Cole Kmet. Sure. Cole Kmet is on Team 1, Clemson, Ole Miss. Dalton Kincaid, Cole Kmet. Maybe he does keep Cole Kmet just for the Bants. Finishes the top 8 tight end this year. I don't see him really taking him out there with Caleb. I mean, Caleb Williams could join, or Justin Fields. I love that one.
Yeah, Kmet's a good buy. I feel pretty safe about Ferguson as well. Ingram, I would add to that list.
Pat the Dragon. I know they don't have a quarterback, but new offensive coordinator, and there are talks that they could be getting a new quarterback here.
Do you want to trust a tight end with Arthur Smith? I don't.
He just never had a talented tight end.
You ready for Darnell Washington
Muse.
breakout season? You ready for Darnell Washington to get 6 screen passes a game?
Maybe you should pick up Darnell Washington off the waiver wires.
I mean, that's mostly a joke. But I actually do think Kmet, Goddard, Musgrave, all really good buys right now. Davis Allen is my favorite stash, and you already have him. I mean, you could even go even deeper to like a Dulcich. Would someone send like Dulcich to you for like a 4th? Because he's not produced at all. But I'd also pick up Bellinger if he's off the waiver wire.
Daniel Bellinger.
Because who knows how long Darren Waller has left. I mean, his rap career might
it's taken off, longer. Really. I actually think we could be getting a tight end, but I could be wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised if you guys draft a tight end either.
Yeah.
But look, yeah, depending on the premium, I know Joe's in the chat with us, but we don't know what the premium is yet. Let us know if you can tell us. Then Brock Bowers is in play at the 104 too. I will say, I'm very happy with your running back room. There's only 3 names I actually like, but I feel like you have one anchor superstar, and you have 2 names at this point in the offseason that I'm fine to just, hey, one of these guys, hopefully it'll work out. If it doesn't, I can look at trading for a veteran on the cheap, a Kamara, a James Conner, a Najee, veteran that's going to cost you a late second.
Yeah, and I think when it comes down to that second round pick, depending on where that's actually going to be, that can be Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, maybe Blake if you like him. If he goes to a decent team and gets a draft capital, like that can definitely be a person you can go out and get as well with that second round pick that you have. You don't have your own. You don't have your own second round pick.
I just realized that too.
Grace O'Malley, which looks like Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Breece Hall.
He said it's a 1.5 premium, and the second is the 206. The 206 is in a great range for tight end.
Yeah.
If you want to draft Sanders, he's probably not there, Sanders, in a premium, but maybe. If not, though, I mean, in a tight end premium, I feel like you talked about Kmet. I think that's very doable.
Yeah, I'm not sweating when it comes down to the 1.5 premium when it comes down to the tight end position, personally, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm happy to ride it out with Darren Waller. And if he does play and that production is not there, then it's not there. But at least you can get, another running back with that 206. Or if the running back are off the board and you do want a tight end, maybe send the 206 for Cole Kmet, because once again, Justin Fields or Caleb Williams going to that team, it feels like. Or
also, Noah Fant is a free agent. So I'm not going to sit here and say that like we're excited about where he's going, but he was a very good prospect coming in, has not been able to stay healthy, and then he went to Seattle where you're not going to overtake DK or Tyler Lockett. That's just not going to happen. So, I mean,
it's going to open the door.
There is a scenario in which Noah Fant gains value as well. But at the 206 in your draft, now that we know that your 206 is there, that is a very good spot for you to be in, because you can go a Sanders, but you can also get one of these running backs we love, a Brooks, a Benson, a Bucky, right? That's in the prime range for one of those running backs. And I don't think it's too early if they get the draft capital that we want. So now all of a sudden, your team, I mean, let's think about how this could really play out. This could be really fun. Let's think about this for a second. We could have Lamar Jackson, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. We could have both of those names.
You could.
We could also have Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, whatever, and Kendre and Jaleel. We also have Marvin, Amon-Ra, Olave, London, Pittman, Jason, Reed. Tight end is really the only area we need to improve. And maybe we trade for Kmet, or maybe we draft Sanders, but we've got that figured out. And we can be patient on that. We don't have to force something. Now, what I will say is you're going to start 9. You can start, I think, 5 wide receivers. I'm going to say it, and it's not because I don't like this player.
Yes,
But
I'm with you.
am totally open to pivoting off of Chris Olave. That does not mean I am not obsessed with this player. I love Olave. Badaki, you can vouch for me. I had him ahead of Garrett Wilson that entire draft. I love his play. I love him as a player. Hate his situation. Hate that he is stuck with Carr for multiple years. And by the way, hate that they could maybe draft a wide receiver in this class to complement him. And I'm not going to say we're concerned about his volume, but I just don't love his situation. And I don't think his production is going to match the pivots that you can make. So we've talked about this a lot. And in this scenario, what if we actually pivot off Olave and try and get a tight end that we love? Because Badaki, in this format, what do you think about like Laporta and something for Olave? For example.
Yeah, look, first, I mean, I don't know if this is disrespectful, but I was try Chris Olave in my 206 first for Laporta to see how that works. Maybe it's not enough.
Maybe I don't think you would need to add another pick, personally. It's only a 1.5 premium. What did we say? It's a start 9, is that right? Start 9.
I think it is start 9. So, you can try Chris Olave for Laporta.
Let's use this calculator as if it is his team next year. Start 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just say that's what we're looking at. I don't think you would need...
There's so many pivot options for Chris Olave, by the way, Joe. I did release a time to pivot video where Chris Olave was on that list. If you want some more scenarios as we're giving you here, definitely go check that out as well. Because Chris Olave currently in the community is wide receiver 9.
In our community, it's 7.
Yeah, and he's higher in our community. Exactly. Keep trade cut, wide receiver 9, our community, wide receiver 7. So his value is there. You can get multiple.
Look at this.
Multiple assets for that.
How would you feel about this? It is a tight end premium. This does not mean that we don't love Chris Olave, but if you think about it, this team, I'm not gonna say they don't need Chris Olave, but they're about to add Marvin with Amon-Ra, London, Pittman, Jason, Reed. This team could afford to pivot off of an Olave, and I don't think it would take more than Olave to go out and get a Sam Laporta. I would even like the first offer I would send Badaki would be like, I would also throw in like a 2025 third, and I would try and get a 2025 second.
I would honestly, because I'm looking at this team and it's like, well, I'm going to lose Sam Laporta. Who else do I have? Adam Troutman, Tyler Conklin. Throw Darren Waller to him.
Yeah, I have no problem adding Waller to that deal, but add the pick swap because that could, I believe, even in a tight end premium, that Olave will be perceived as more value than Laporta, even though I think they would be equal.
Right. Okay.
But let's play this scenario out where we go to a lesser valuable tight end. Like, let's play this scenario out with. Instead of Laporta, how about Kyle Pitts? What if we did Kyle Pitts and this guy's 2025 first? How would you feel about that? I know you're not a Kyle Pitts guy, but you get the first, so that's not going to lose value. And if you're not comfortable with Pitts, replace Pitts' name with Dalton Kincaid. Replace his name with Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
I think those are all deals that you could afford to make with your team. Because I'm looking at this team, Badaki, I'm thinking we're competing right now. We just need a tight end that we like.
Yeah, we need a tight end. Yeah, we took our faces out so you can see the trade, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's what Zach did.
Yeah, sorry.
Joe. I'm not in love with the Kyle Pitts one, but obviously I'm not a huge fan of Kyle Pitts. Let's go back to what I said earlier about Cole Kmet, by the way. Cole Kmet, send Chris Olave, get Cole Kmet, and then maybe you can pivot to another another tier wide receiver here.
So what
that Clemson has.
Where's Kmet? What team?
Clemson, Ole Miss. He has Puka, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase. Can I send Olave and I don't know. I'm trying to think of what we can do here.
I like a Flowers pivot, but I need more than Flowers and Kmet personally. So you're saying like you want to pivot to Kmet and then get a wide receiver we still like?
Yeah.
So I personally feel like I would need more than just Kmet and Flowers. So if he could do like I
was thinking more like AJ Brown or Puka, but like once
AJ
again, I'm
Brown,
happy that might be too much.
Those guys are all valued higher than Olave, so that wouldn't work.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
No one has
there.
these names valued less than Olave.
He has Monroe, Drake London, Michael Pittman.
But how about we add like a
what if you add
a Swift or something? A Swift or a Kamara.
Yeah, Kamara. I mean,
say you add Swift here. I'd be fine with that, but I think the reason that this is a tough deal is because Kmet is not a caliber
tight end.
It's not that he's not good. It's just like he's not someone that you're like super excited about losing out on Olave for.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm willing to pay a little bit more to get the Puka, the AJ Brown.
So you're saying
is it crazy to do? What if you do Chris Olave and Jackson Smith and Jigba for Puka? Is that not enough still for somebody? Like, would you do that out of curiosity? Because I know you're
saying Kmet and Puka.
Kmet and Puka for Chris Olave and Jackson Smith, or Chris
Olave. This would be heavily on the Olave JSN side for me, and I love Puka.
Okay.
It's not like I said. Kmet isn't and not that he's not a bad buy, but I think this format where we're trying to pivot off of Olave, it's a really tough deal to find where it makes sense.
Yeah, because I guess like in the community, I can see Puka wide receiver 5, Olave wide receiver 7. So you tearing up really 2 spots.
Basically, you're asking, is tiering up to Puka worth losing JSN for Kmet, and it's not for me.
Yeah, even in the tight end premium.
Mm-mm. So look, those are some ideas.
I'll back that. Yeah.
Those are some ideas that you can try. But anyway, and you could also just do a traditional pivot. We've talked about names that you could traditionally pivot off of. So Olave, pivot to. We've talked about Collins. We've talked about Rice. We've talked about Ayuk. We've talked about Waddle. We've talked about Dell. We've talked about. I mean, how many names have we really talked about? It feels like we've talked about a lot. London. We've talked about. Like, there's so many names in that
London.
like tier right behind him that we'd pivot to, plus a 2025 first is what you're looking for.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's the only deal that came to mind for me. And I feel like people are going to call us Olave haters. I'm the furthest thing from it. I'm just trying to identify market perception versus actual production.
Yeah, completely agree there. There's a couple a perfect person to pivot to that we haven't mentioned, DJ Moore.
Great. Love that.
By the way, where's DJ here? He's on team 12.
He has London. Okay, gotcha.
He has team 12,
Team 12?
VAG.
Okay.
Yeah, VAG, DJ Moore and Tank Dell. He has 2 players that you would want.
Would you do DJ Moore and Tajay? I would.
Yeah, I'll do Tajay.
I love the idea of Olave.
I think I would do
DJ Moore and Tajay. That would.
I think I would do I would try DJ Moore and like an Njoku in the tight end premium.
Oh, okay. No, I actually don't mind that either. Olave for DJ Moore and Njoku. Does the guy have a tight end behind Njoku though?
He doesn't though. He has Tyler Higbee, Mike Gesicki. So throw Darren Waller to him. Throw Waller. You never know. Maybe somebody likes Waller. You never know. But
also, this guy probably isn't going to want to get rid of Tajay if he doesn't have good running backs.
He doesn't have any picks. He doesn't have any picks in 24 either. He has a 3rd round actually.
But I would even be willing to do something really simple, like, hey, Give me DJ Moore, Olave for DJ Moore, and a 2025 first, but I'll give you my 2025 second.
Yeah.
Even that is great. So a lot of ideas there.
Hopefully that helps, brother.
Hopefully that is helpful. Joe, we want to leave you anytime here to answer any of your questions. Feel free. Now's your time to shine. But hopefully we've been helpful. And of course, feel free to use your hotline at any moment as well. I think you just saw Dune. And if anyone's seen it, don't tell me anything because I want to see it. But apparently it's the highest rated movie on IMDb ever.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I did hear that.
Yeah, I think Joe has seen it. And
I'll be honest, I haven't even seen the first one.
Oh, really? The first one's very slow, but it's setting up the series.
Yeah, which I heard, and I'll have because I want to see the second one.
But anyway, we'll wait and see if Joe has any other questions. That's the last team that we are going to review today. Again, guys, if you do want to get your team reviewed, very simple process. All you got to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND, and you're good to go, pretty much. That's the step.
That is the step. We appreciate
Obviously, you want to link your Discord after you do that, but that's it for today. Joe says, thank you, guys. Dune 2 was effing insanity, guys. Oh, I'm excited for it.
That's awesome.
But we appreciate everybody. That's it. We'll see you soon. All love. Goodbye.